First cut you make, I drew a straight line on your skateboard. That's the first one you're going to cut. You want to have it clamped in 2 spots. So you and your helper clamp it. 1 here, 1 there. Clamp it.
Right here, Ken. Clamp it.
It's easier if you have the handle on top. You want to make sure that you're pulling it down like this and you're seeing where the blade is cutting. You do not want to stand like this because you have no idea where the blade is. So you hold it down with your shoulder and cut right on the line. Don't bring it off the wood until the blade is stopped. The next cuts that you make, you want to make as close as you can to the pattern line, but you don't want to cut into the pattern line. The disc sander will sand it down to it. Whatever you're cutting, you want to make sure when you clamp it to the table that you don't cut the table like a couple people have forgotten to do. So make sure when you're cutting. So if I'm cutting this right here, I want to make sure that there's no table underneath it before I clamp. Stay as close as you can to the line, shoulder up. Don't bring it up until it stops.
So don't cut on.
What if you have a different type of skateboard?
Same thing, just stay as close as you can to the line.
Okay.
When you are cutting, scraps go in the box.
Okay.
If you have holes drilled in your project, that's because you have a tight corner that's impossible to cut in 1 cut. So you're going to cut it in 2 cuts. So I'm going to cut, stop when I get to here, then I'm going to cut that way. The first cut you're going to do, you're just going to cut all the way through. Do not worry about the O, or the hole. Then to cut this, you do want to cut right on the line when you cut this. You can't get the disc sander this set. So this time we're going to cut right on the line. Stop when you get to the hole. Once it's in the hole, you don't want to keep cutting this way. You want to get on the other side. And then you have a corner like this. Now you can cut the corner. Once you get it all cut, then you go over to the disc sander. When you sand, you only want to sand in this direction, not sand back. That will cut into your wood. You're going to notice there's some parts you're not going to be able to sand. I'll show you how to sand that in a moment. So I can start here. You want to go in this direction. You want to sand down to the line. When you sand, you want to sand between the center and this. If you sand over here, it's going to bring it up off the table. Just sand in this area. The harder parts are at the end. You just have one hand on the table. Sand that down. If you want to sand this part, you have to sand the line. Sanding the line means you're going to have to turn it over this way. Sand it a little bit. And then see if you have to sand more. You have to keep turning it over and sanding a little bit. See if you have to sand more. When you're done sanding, what is the next step, Austin?
Can we go rasp to file around the edges?
If it isn't perfectly flat, the next step is not going to look good. So you take a rasp and get rid of any bumps that you might have on your project. You want a nice smooth edge. If you feel any bumps, that's the bumps that you want to file off. How you put it in the vise is this. When you file, don't file side to side like that. It's going to chip the side. File at an angle like that. What we're trying to do is just get it flat. If it's all rough, we're going to power sand this later, but we want it smooth for the next step. If you have bumps on here, get the rasp that's rounded on one side to get in there. If it should chip off a little bit, we're going to round over the edges so it's going to get rid of most of it, but it's a skateboard, you're going to run into things, so it's going to get chips anyway. So try to get that smooth. If when you're filing this up here, it's very unstable, so wherever you're filing, get that closest to the vise. That won't. There's a little point here, so you want to get that rounded.